Sajid will walk around and help if anyone needs any help. It's private, so it's one-to-one, just on your own. No one should look at anyone else's papers, okay? But do make sure your name is on it, and then after the session we'll put them away so that you can refer back to it afterwards. Just one thing about reviews. Reviews are very, very, very important. Many times I speak to people and they say to me words like this: oh, I don't know where I am, or I haven't done my amals, or I haven't done my zikr, or I haven't done my sheets. But it only takes 5 minutes to review yourself. We're going to do a big review, 6 obstacles to spiritual openings, a big review which should only take 1 hour. So what is stopping you from reviewing 5 minutes once a day, 1 minute once a day, and once a week 5 minutes? That's all it takes. It's not difficult, but you have to commit to it. So today we're going to show you how to commit to reviewing yourself. So the first one, let's begin. Bismillah. What is your body, mind, heart, and your soul's relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The first of the 6. And we break it down into 4 parts. The body. So ask yourself, how is your body's relationship with Allah? And am I disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with any of these? Firstly, the tongue. Remember I said the first thoughts that come to your mind regarding your tongue, those are the ones that you want to write down. I don't want you to write 15 sins, 1, 2, or 3. Whatever you think your biggest ones are. It might be a person that you backbite. It might be just backbiting. It might be just lying. It might be just with the spouse only. Whatever that is, with the tongue, that's your obstacle. I want you to write that down. Only you will know the answer. Yes, brothers.
Just write the word like swear.
Yeah. Yes, you can be as detailed as you want. You can be as less detailed as you want. Because everyone here, this is an individual review, but we're doing it collectively. There's 60 people here. So your answers will vary according to each person. If for one person it's just swearing, they swear all the time, then you write swearing. But for some of you, that particular sin will be because of a person that you're in the company of. So then you need to realize my tongue, I have a problem with my tongue, but only when I'm with a certain person. So really, that's not just the tongue, that's also the feet, isn't it? So I see most of you are writing. The same thing with the eyes. The first thought that comes to your mind, what am I doing to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that's stopping my spiritual openings because of these eyes? If I want to see with this eye needs to close from these things. What is it that I'm looking at? Yeah. So if anyone feels shy, embarrassed to write anything down in case anyone else will see, then that's fine. You can write in code. You can write in a code, just a letter, so you know what the letter refers to. Or you can just give yourself a score. So for some of you, you can give a score out of 10 on all these things. If you don't want to write any words, then just give yourself a score on them. 1 out of 10. 10 out of 10, perfect, no problems. 0 out of 10, terrible. You know? So give yourself a score. So the ears, same thing with the ears. What are you listening to? Are we listening to other people's conversations without their permission? Am I listening to someone that's backbiting other people? Am I listening to someone swearing and I'm enjoying that and entertaining them? Can you imagine that you want to have spiritual opening of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? You imagine that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is next to you, but then there is someone else backbiting, and you're listening to that. What will he sallallahu alaihi wasallam think? So this can be the blockage. The hands. Are you touching anything? The Holy Prophet ﷺ mentioned that in one hadith, that touching the opposite gender, that it is better to touch a hot rod than to touch the opposite gender. Is it maybe at work I shake hands with the opposite gender? Maybe we hug? Is this the problem? And there are solutions to each one of these things. Every single obstacle, disobedience, there's a solution for them. You just have to ask. And inshallah, we'll get the answer. The feet. Am I going to places where it becomes easy to commit sin? Clubs, pubs, anywhere else. Maybe it's a person. On the feet, think, who is it that you commit the sin with? Is there a particular person? Because maybe that person is your obstacle. It doesn't mean you have to leave them forever, but you have to weaken the relationship until you are the stronger one, until they cannot affect you anymore. And with the stomach, am I overeating that I cannot do my prayers? Am I fasting too much that I'm always tired, that I then don't fulfill the rights of others? Is it that I'm eating and I don't know what I'm eating? You don't know whether it's halal, haram or anything? Is it smoking? Since we mentioned smoking, for those who have an addiction, many people have addictions. For addictions, there are solutions that are different to what you will see later today. Maybe after this, maybe after Fajr, we'll show you the solution. But for addiction, there's another solution, and that will probably not be mentioned here unless you have one, you want one-to-one, then a teacher can share that solution with you on a one-to-one. But know that for addictions, the solution is slightly longer than for these normal sins. So a person needs more one-to-one for this. Modesty. Is there anything that a person might be doing with their modesty that is stopping them? The Holy Prophet ﷺ mentioned this specifically, that I guarantee Jannah for the one who preserves what is between their jaws and what is between their legs. So there's a reason for this is being mentioned. Any questions so far? Does anyone have any issues filling this out? Do you need more time? Yes, Brother Aziz.
Some of them don't really apply if you're okay with it, don't inscribe it.
That's right. So mashallah, the ones that you don't have any problems with, that is also half the battle. Recognize that you've realized that I don't have any problem with hands, feet, stomach, whichever. So the ones you don't have any problems with, you can either put 0 there, that alhamdulillah, no problems, or put a tick if you want. You see the number on the right where it says out of 7, however many of the organs you have an issue with, let's say there's 4, then I want you to write 4 out of 7. That is telling you how many organs are an obstacle for you. How many of the organs of your body are stopping you from spiritual openings. Those are the organs that you need to focus on in this 4 days and when you leave from here. You've pinpointed them by writing them down. Now you know how many there are. If there's 4, maybe when you leave from here, you'll spend 1 month resolving 2 of them, and the second month resolving 2 of them. Maybe if you have 7, then you might need 4 months. But if you only have 1, it might take 1 month. But now at least you will have recognized. So we move on. The mind. How is your mind's relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? With the body, people can see. People can hear what you say, people can see what you do, but with the mind, no one can see except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you can see it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can see it. How do you see it? You know what's going on in your mind. You can hear it, you can feel it. So how is your mind's relationship with Allah? The first thing is, do I entertain thoughts against Allah's command? So Allah's command, Allah Azza wa Jal commands, don't look at this evil program. Do you even entertain the thought of it? That is the question. Do I even entertain the thought of disobeying Allah? That's the question. So ask yourself this question. If the answer is yes, think out of 10, how often do I do this? Do I do this very, very often? 10 out of 10 times I'm doing this? Or do I never do that? So you can give yourself a score. That how often do I even entertain the thought of disobeying Allah? Maybe the thought is to hit someone. Maybe the thought is to drink alcohol. Maybe the thought is to look at na-mahram. It could be anything. Just entertaining the thought of it. Yes? Very good question, mashallah. So we are talking about consistent. And by consistent, what we mean is it's either daily or even weekly. If it's daily, this is definitely consistent. Even if it's weekly, this is still a big problem for the person. Daily is a much bigger problem. Weekly is still a big problem. But if it's once every 2 months, then this is not the type we're referring to. That's a weaker problem. That's like a slip of the tongue. Like one uncle was saying before, that sometimes I just say something, but I didn't mean it, and I've done the tongue sheet, I've stopped these things, but it just came out. So that's a slip. But if it's daily, that's what we're referring to. What things are you doing regularly to disobey Allah that's stopping you from having spiritual openings and coming closer to Allah? So with the mind, the second thing to ask yourself is this one. Very, very important. Because you can only backbite someone if you thought it first. So do I think bad of other Muslims? Well, you can only backbite other Muslims if you thought bad of them first. How could you ever backbite them if you didn't think bad of them? So ask yourself this question. Do I think bad of other Muslims? And rate it out of 10. 10 out of 10, very, very bad. 0 out of 10, I don't do it at all. If I go too fast, please tell me, because I can't see I can see people writing, but if you finished, then inshallah, please let me know as well.
When you say bad, what do you mean by that?
So,
Someone's doing something wrong, but obviously you can think
yeah.
that's something bad.
Yeah.
What you said.
So if you see them doing something bad, let's say they're drinking alcohol openly, you're not thinking bad of them here because they've revealed it. They've revealed it. When you're thinking bad of a Muslim, it's when you're thinking something which you haven't got evidence for. You've not got any visual evidence. You've not got any type of evidence. You're assuming something bad of them. So let's say the person is walking in a drunken way, and now I'm thinking, oh, they've drunk alcohol. I don't have evidence that they're drunk. I haven't seen them drink. So now I'm thinking bad of them. I'm assuming that the person is drinking alcohol, but maybe they have a limp. So what you should do, and this could be another 50 questions, the opposite of these, that are you thinking good of Muslims? And here you would think, the person maybe has a limp. They have a leg problem. So are you thinking good? So you should make an excuse for the person in your mind. Does that make sense? Next one. Am I heedless of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's remembrance, and how often? So ask yourself this question in 24 hours. Are you heedless? Yes or no? And the question, 24 hours a day, or let's say 16 hours when you're awake, 16 hours, how many hours are you in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's remembrance? That's what I want you to write down. Out of 16 hours, how many hours in the day are you in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's remembrance? So write this down. So Siraj, you had your hand?
Say you thought of something bad about Muslim, and then you realize that immediately repent.
I'll repeat the question. Yeah? Okay. So mashallah, if you... It's a good question. The brother Siraj said, if you think bad of a Muslim, but then you immediately repent, then is this classed as thinking bad of them? The answer is no, that's not classed as thinking bad of them. That was your automatic nafs that thought the bad thought of them. The thought could have come from nafs, or it could have come from shaitan. One or the other. It could have come from their nafs or shaitan. But then you thought good of them. That was coming from your willpower, from your intention. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for that good intentional thought. So you've not thought bad of them. If you bring the intentional good thought, then no, you've not thought bad of them. That unintentional thought that came, you're not liable for it. Yes? It's related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So because you're in an act that's related to Allah, you can class that as being in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's remembrance. But what I'm referring to is, throughout those 16 hours that you're awake, how often are you in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's remembrance? That Allah is with me, Allah is watching me, Allah is hearing me. How often is that thought present with you? Is it only 1 hour a day? Is it 8 hours a day? This is a question to ask. Next question. Do I practice more negative thinking or more positive thinking? Which one is stronger? There's only two. There's more positive, seeing good in everything that happens, and negative is seeing bad in everything that happens, in simple form. Which one do you practice more? So you can rate them 40% positive, 60% negative, however you want. The way that it should be is 100% positive, 0% negative. But you need to ask yourself, where am I now? The only way to know where you want to get is to know where you are, and the path in the middle is your journey. So out of 100%, how much is each one? That's the next question. I've already mentioned that. So which first question there was, which one is more stronger, positive thinking or negative thinking? And then second one, give them a percentage. Which one, how much is each one? Is it 30% positive, 70% negative? Only you will know. If you ask yourself that question, the answer will come to you. Yes?
What do you mean by negative thinking?
So negative thinking means that when something happens, I think in such a way that I'm harmed by it. I'm harmed by it. So let's say, for example, the weather. The weather, it was sunny today, very beautiful weather yesterday today. You could think negatively by thinking, oh, I'm stuck in the mosque and the beautiful weather outside. Now you're harmed by the weather. The weather out there is beautiful, but it's harmed you because you're thinking that I'm away from the beautiful weather, and now you're becoming depressed. Oh, I should be there, I shouldn't be here. That's negative thinking. The weather is got nothing, it's free, it's independent. But a positive thought would be, mashallah, beautiful weather, but I would rather be in the presence of mashayikh and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's presence, learning about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having a spiritual opening to a much better world and better weather. Do you see? So then you benefit from where you are. So negative thinking, you get harmed by it, your thought. Positive thinking, you're benefiting from the thought. And the thought is just related to the things that are happening in your life. Yes?
Just related to that. Does negative thinking have to do with like
That's fine. Okay, so inshallah we'll give the mic to each person that asks the question, if that's okay as well.
So is negative thinking like sort of a dissatisfaction, that internal complaining that a person has? Is that what?
That's related to it. That's a form of negative thinking. So a person who's always internally complaining about things, that's a type of negative thinking. It's a type of negative thinking. There's more forms, but that's just one of them. Okay. So a person who's always thinking, oh, why does this always happen to me? That's a type of negative thinking. Another example, common one, is, oh, why was I born like this? Why was I born with this disability? Why don't I have, a beard like this, or a chadar like that, or eyes like that, or hair like that? Why not me? Why not me? So this is complaining, questioning, and it's all negative. So this is a type of, a strong example of negative thinking. Yes?
Sorry, what is this?
Oh, question.
Sorry. Whoever wants to mention anything, if they could just wait for the mic, Jazakallah.
So these questions will also help everyone else, because it will help you think that, does that relate to me? Because these things are outlining the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and at the end of that comes the spiritual openings.
Yes, so this one, the question was, following on from the answer, that if you have a negative thought that comes from your heart or within yourself, but then you counter that within yourself with a positive thought, then is that okay?
Yes, so the unintentional negative thought that comes, you're not liable for it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't hold you to account for it. But the intentional thought that you bring after that one you will be. So that negative thought, when it comes, if you hold it, entertain it, then you can be questioned about that. If you think bad of Muslims and entertain that thought and keep it, then you can be questioned for this, and it leads to evil diseases like grudges and so on. But if the negative thought comes from shaitan, nafs, wherever it comes, doesn't matter, but then you counter it with a positive thought, then that's your intentional willpower. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at. Yeah, so you won't be questioned, and you don't have negative thinking then. Because these whispers, you can't stop them. Even the awliya Allah, the friends of Allah, they get more whispers than normal people. They get more, but they know how to let them pass like diverting traffic. Traffic just comes and goes, and you're on your journey, like that. So the next one, now we go to, do I spend time reflecting upon the creation? Do I spend time in reflecting upon the creation? What does that mean? Can anyone tell me? What do you think it means? So it's not related to positive or negative thinking. And if nobody knows, then maybe the answer should be 0 for most of us. So let's see. Here's Brother Aziz.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is just looking at the sun, the moon, the stars, even trees, and reflecting upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creation in awe, maybe seeing the maker, the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the creation, and having a state of gratitude and so on.
Okay, mashallah, yes. So remember, you shouldn't look at the sun directly with your eyes. It's not good for the eyes. But although I know what you mean, you're looking at the creation. The main thing is that you're taking a lesson from them. You take a lesson from the creation. For example, you look at the bin, and you look at how things are disposed of, and it reminds you of Jahannam, that one day maybe I would be disposed of in the bin called hell. So the bin can remind you of Jahannam. Or the plant can remind you of life and death, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives it life and gives it death. Gives it life, gives it death every year. So how often do you reflect? Ask yourself, write that question down. It should be every day, and I would say as a minimum 5 times a day. That's how often, like at Salah, we do 5 times a day. We should be reflecting in the prayer. So, am I going too fast? No? Okay, so one's heart's relationship. What does that mean? Your heart's relationship. The heart is where, the spiritual heart is where the good and the bad qualities reside. So, example, humbleness and arrogance. They are the opposite of each other. ask yourself this question. Am I more humble that I think lowly of myself? Or am I more arrogant that I think highly of myself? Which one are you? Which one are you more inclined towards? So this is your personal review. If you say here that I shouldn't say I'm humble, this is not the type of thing we're talking about where a person says they're not humble or they are humble. This is you look introspection, it's called. You're looking inside yourself, that your natural reaction. Do I, for example, do you give the chair to the other people and you sit on the floor? Or do you want the biggest chair? Do you want the nice, best egg? Or do you give your wife the best egg and you keep the worst one? So do you give yourself the best clothes and everyone else the poor clothes? Or do you give them the best and you keep the poor? You're looking at the signs of arrogance and the signs of humbleness. Are you happy to give tea to other people, or do you want to be the one given tea to? Do you want to be served, or do you want to serve? So you're looking at the signs of arrogance, the signs of humbleness. And inshallah it should be 100% humbleness, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like 1% of arrogance. Am I more grateful or am I more ungrateful? You can give them, again, percentages, 50-50, 60-40. Only you will know the answer. More patient or impatient? Yes, Brother Mustafa. Yes. If you just wait for the mic. So are you more patient or are you more impatient? These ones are being mentioned specifically. Very important these qualities are. Yes.
My question was about humble versus arrogant. Is it arrogance to think well of yourself, not because you deserve it, but because you've been blessed? So, for example, recognizing that Allah may have gifted me with intelligence and thinking well because of that.
No, mashallah, that's a good question. That's not arrogance, that's called gratefulness. When you attribute it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's gratefulness. When you attribute it to yourself, that's called, does anyone know? Attribute to yourself. Not arrogance, it's a level towards arrogance. Anyone? Yes. Yes, pride. So when you attribute a quality to yourself, that's called pride. When you attribute it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's gratefulness. Arrogance is two things. When you attribute it to yourself and when you think others are below you. So arrogance is a level beyond pride. It's even worse than pride. So, mashallah, if you recognize you have a blessing, then you attribute to Allah, that's gratefulness. But the important thing is you don't attribute to yourself. You don't attribute. And how often do I repent? How often tawbah itself is a quality. Does anyone know how often the Holy Prophet ﷺ used to repent in one gathering? About, they say, 70 times. In one gathering, the most companions radhiyallahu anhum counted in the region of 70 in just one sitting. So what does he sallallahu alaihi wasallam have to repent from? It's definitely not sins. There's nothing in our sight that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam has to repent from, but he is showing us that we should be repenting that often. We are more in need. The soul. The soul here refers to the nafs, the ego, the thing inside you that you have to fight and battle, that thing that speaks to you, telling you to do bad things. How often in 24 hours do I spend in the presence of Allah? Either you're in the presence of yourself, which is the nafs, or you're in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't really be in both. Okay, so are you in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's presence? And by presence here, I just want you to think remembrance in simple words. How often do I spend in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's remembrance? For those of you who understand presence, or are you in your own presence more? Is it always me, I? Because that's the nafs talking. Yes, brother.
So you mentioned 24 hours, right? So if you, let's say you're sleeping for 8 hours, so
Yes.
there's also count if you go to sleep by reciting all those
du'as, right?
Yes, mashallah, that's good. If a person does the amal before sleeping, the sunnah amal like you will do today, you will do fresh wudu, do 2 rakat prayer before sleeping, sleep on the right, recite your askars before sleeping, blow on the hands, rub on the body, and then sleep by doing munajat, speaking to Allah with the heart, Azza wa Jal, freeing your heart from jealousy, grudge, envy towards people, forgiving them. You sleep in this state, then your whole sleep becomes worship as well. So yes, then you are in the presence of your spirit, like we will travel together with our eyes opened, with our conscious mind. When you're sleeping, your spirit travels as well, and it gets to mingle with the Anbiya alayhim salam and the awliya as well. Do I love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than my parents, my children, my wealth, and all mankind? Ask yourself that question. That's the definition of a believer. But you have to ask yourself, when was the last time you asked yourself this question? Do I seriously think about it? 10, 20 seconds, all it takes. Do I really love him more than myself? More than everything, more than my wife and husband and children and parents? And if not, what is it that's in your way? Who is it that is in your way? Yes.
What if I know that I would happily give everything for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, even my own life, but there are times where I might contravene out of weakness or being overcome in a moment?
Yes, mashallah. So if that's the case, if you feel this way more of the time, majority of the time, that you feel the love for the Holy Prophet more than everyone and everything else, but there are a few obstacles in your way, then you can still put a yes there, because at least you have the state of love. You have the state of love of the Holy Prophet. So now you have to have the evidence of love. Because the Holy Prophet says, or in the Holy Quran, Allah SWT tells the Holy Prophet to say, if you love me, that if you love Allah, follow me. So if you love Allah, if you claim to love Allah, then follow me, the Holy Prophet. So the evidence of the love after the claim is the following and the obedience. So you can have the claim, you can have the feeling of love. Now you need the evidence to come after it, the proof to come after it. So you could say half the journey is there, the other half is to be traversed. And that's what this retreat, inshallah, can help towards as well. Carry on. Do I yearn? These questions, they are enlightenment questions. You will know what I mean by enlightenment when we look at the journey to Allah, and that opens the spiritual eye. But this is very, very important. Do I yearn to save the ummah from Jahannam, or am I always thinking about myself? Which one are you? The selfless or the selfish? The one who thinks about others all the time, or the one who always thinks about themselves? Ask yourself, which is more of my focus? Hopefully this review will give you an insight into yourself. That's what it's meant to do. Yes.
So for this question, you said, so what should be the best balance? So is it like only myself or the ummah, or there has to be some kind of balance? Or what is the right, what do you call, like a response or right reaction?
Yes, mashallah, very good question. So the first thing to understand is, if you are drowning, then you cannot save anyone else who's drowning. So the first thing when it comes to akhirah, with regards to akhirah, you save yourself, then you save your family, then you save the town, then you save the country or the surrounding areas, then the country, and then the world. So you go in that order. But when it comes to dunya, then it should be that you look at yourself last. That you have to fulfill the rights of yourself and your family. That's part of deen. That's part of deen. But with regards to dunya, you fulfill the rights of the people, but you want to be selfless with regards to dunya, that you are more giving, you're generous. But when it comes to deen, saving yourself from the akhirah and the jahannam, you can't save others if you cannot save yourself. So there is a perfect balance. That's why the word yearning is there. Because yearning just means a state of the heart, that do I have the want to save others? I need to have the want to save others. It doesn't make sense to go out and save others if you're not saving yourself. It's not logical. So a person who's yearning to save others is in the process of saving themselves already. They have to be. Otherwise, they're going to do more harm than benefit. Have you seen the people who are trying to help people who are drowning, but they can't drown? They get to them and then they jump on their heads and drown them faster. So that's the example of the person who, is trying to save others but isn't saving themselves. So now, next one. Am I a slave to my feelings, or are my feelings my slave? This is actually a very big one. Am I a slave to my feelings, or are my feelings my slave? Your feelings should be your slave, not that you are the slave of your feelings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this in the Holy Quran, that have you not seen he who has made his nafs his God? That's the person who's made their feelings their God. Whatever the feeling says, that's what I do. I can tell you this, that you will live a happy life in all aspects of life when you ignore your feelings and live life completely irrelevant of them. That's only then you can live a happy life. Until then, you are a slave. And that is one of the things which will stop you in your spiritual openings, the feelings. Because guess what? Even when you have spiritual openings, the nafs can get bored. The nafs sees things and the nafs can get bored. And you have to then fight the nafs. Wherever you go, the nafs is with you in this world. So is the problem, let me give you an example, is the problem, let's say you have a fancy car, nice car, and 2 years later, you have the exact same car, and you've had it on finance, whichever, you bought it. Nothing wrong with that car, exactly the same. But why suddenly do you want a new car? Why? Is the question that, is it that there's something wrong with the car? Or is there that I'm bored of the car? Well, if you're bored of the car, there's nothing wrong with the car, there's something wrong with you. You don't know how to deal with boredom. That's the problem. So learn how to deal with problem, and then you can save yourself a lot of money. Okay, so today, to end this first section, what you will do, inshallah, is you will do 2 rakat Salatul Tawbah, and beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness from all the sins of the body, those disobedience, those obstacles with the mind, the obstacles with the heart, and the obstacles with the soul or the nafs. You will do that 2 rakat tawbah. The things you've written down, you'll make a strong intention that, oh Allah, these are the things which I will stop, so that I can travel the journey to you, I can taste the journey to you, I can see the journey to you. Are we ready to look at the 7 levels of faith? Are we ready? Can I see hands up for who's ready? Okay, that's majority, inshallah. For those of you who don't have hands up, the reason you're here is for the 7 levels of faith. So, the 7 levels of faith, what are they? Now, you have them written in front of you so you can memorize them. I'm only going to mention them. All I want you to do is rate your level, your current level, out of 10. Your current level out of 10. If you have it to the perfect level, 10 out of 10. Okay, if you have nothing, 0 out of 10. Ilmul yaqeen, what does that mean? Ilmul yaqeen means certainty of knowledge, or certain knowledge. That can only come from a very reliable source. In this case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Holy Quran, and the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the very reliable source. And who do we learn from? The very reputable, reliable mashayikh and scholars. Because if we go direct, then we are interpreting and we misinterpret. So what is your ilmul yaqeen? What is your level of certain knowledge? Have you read the Holy Quran? Have you read the commentary? So how much knowledge do you have? Have you read all the ahadith? Have you studied? How much have you studied? So what is your certain knowledge? What level is it? Is it 10 out of 10 that you're very, very knowledgeable, or is it maybe 1 that not study much at all? So, but it comes from a reliable source. Second one, intellectual certainty. So what is this? This is a conviction which comes from logical, scientific evidence. Does anyone know how many scientific facts are mentioned in the Holy Quran? How many? Sorry? About how many? 100, 1,000, a million? It's 1,000, approximately 1,000 scientific facts in the Holy Quran. They're scientific facts. Then the scientists can go and look at those scientific facts, and then they realize that, oh, mashallah, the Quran is saying the exact same thing. And the Holy Prophet ﷺ in the hadith is mentioning the same thing. So intellectual is the logical, scientific evidence that something is true. So what level of intellectual certainty do you have that the hereafter is true? That's my question to you. What level of certainty of the hereafter do you have from scientific knowledge? Put your hand up if you're a scientist in here. There's not many scientists. Very few. So maybe there more work is needed. There are books for scientific and logical proofs as well. So which one, tell me, if an atheist came to you, which of these two would you use? The ilmul yaqeen from Quran and Sunnah, or would you use scientific knowledge? Because they don't believe in Quran and Sunnah. They don't believe in the source. So when you tell them about the source, they're like, oh, I don't believe in that. But when you tell them the intellectual certainty, that type of knowledge, they believe you. But you need to know what level is your knowledge on that. Have you rated? Yes. Next one, your spiritual level or relationship with Allah, your level of yaqeen. The third one is qalbul yaqeen. And what is that? Qalbul yaqeen means heart satisfaction. That how satisfied is your heart? Now this happens. Sometimes people travel. You can't prove this to someone. Sometimes people travel spiritually and they don't see anything. They don't see anything, but they know that they were there. They felt that they were there. And you can ask them, maybe many of you will experience this tomorrow, that I couldn't see anything, but I knew I was there. My heart was satisfied. Logic doesn't work there. It's not logical, it's just they felt it, their heart is satisfied. So how satisfied is your heart with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the belief in Allah, with the belief in the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with the belief in the hereafter? How satisfied is your heart? Ask yourself that question and rate that. And the next one is why you're all here today. Ainul Yaqeen. So the first three, you can already have that without being here. But this one is why you're here today. Ainul Yaqeen comes from spiritual certainty of sight. Certainty by not this sight, but this side, the spiritual side. So if a person has a spiritual vision of the hereafter, of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, of angel of death, of angels, of different things, then they have a certainty of sight. But they're here and they're watching. They're here. It's like seeing Medina Sharif on the TV, but you're not traveling to Medina Sharif. You're only seeing Medina Sharif on the TV, but you're not traveling there. So there are signs of this, many, and inshallah, Ustad Sajid will go through more detail tomorrow about having, first you're going to follow with the thought, then you follow with imagination. After thought and imagination, what's the third one? Is you spiritually travel and it happens automatically. So rate yourself out of this one. How much Ainul Yaqeen do you have? And everyone's will be different. Is it 1? Is it 0? Is it 10? So if the question comes, how do you measure Ainul Yaqeen, then maybe if the eye has not opened yet, and therefore you can put a low figure now, because this retreat, one of the purposes of the retreat is to see. As Hazrat Sahib mentioned, that this retreat will help you open the eye. So this Ainul Yaqeen is actually the purpose of, to have the 4th level of conviction is the purpose of this retreat. So if it's at a 0 now, then that's fine. Inshallah, if we do this again at the end of the retreat, maybe it'll be a 2, 3, maybe a 5, maybe more. Sorry, dreams. Truthful dreams. Dreams is a form of Ainul Yaqeen, but it's in between. The Ainul Yaqeen that we refer to is in a wakeful state. So we won't include dreams for now, because even non-Muslims can see dreams. Everyone can see dreams, and dreams are good because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does communicate and give message through good dreams. But this Ainul Yaqeen refers to being awake and seeing. The next one is Nafsul Yaqeen. That the nafs, what does that mean? That nafs, that ego, the thing that in you that wants all these different desires. It wants this, it wants ice cream, then it wants the chocolate, then it wants the biscuit, and you're trying to diet, but it wants all these different things. Then it wants to stay up late, then it wants to sleep and not wake up for Fajr. It wants all these different things. But when it sees the spiritual world and it becomes satisfied with the spiritual world, and it wants that world, it wants to see Jannah, it wants to see the Hurs, it wants to see the Holy Prophet ﷺ. It becomes inclined towards the spiritual world. So Nafsul Yaqeen is when the nafs becomes satisfied towards the goodness in the hereafter. That it wants that. Some people who are open, they sometimes say that I don't have inclination towards there. But their nafs hasn't got, they don't have Nafsul Yaqeen, because the nafs is not inclined towards there. Yes, the higher level is your nafs is inclined to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you have to go through many things to get closer and closer and closer in the spiritual world. Yes. Are we giving the mic? Yes.
What if a person don't see any vision, but his nafs wants to see it and wants to incline towards the spiritual world?
So that's good, mashallah. If the nafs is there, the nafs doesn't have, it's inclined towards there, but until you've seen something, you won't know whether it likes it or not. I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to get married, you're inclined towards this person, this, what do you call it when you're looking for someone, rishta, whichever, you're inclined towards them, you've been having emails and messages, whichever, but then when you come and see them, the inclination all goes. So this is this example, that your nafs is inclined towards seeing the spiritual world, but it's not seen it yet. Once it sees it and experiences, then it might think, oh, it's not as I expected, it's not what I thought. Then it might not be inclined anymore. So that inclination only really comes after experiencing or seeing the spiritual world. Inshallah, until then, it's a wish and a desire. So it mentions one sign there that's important, it's beneficial for you to know. One sign is that you see things which never imagined. Many things happen beyond your control. This happens to everyone, that you start seeing things which you've never even imagined them. You've never even thought of them, and they start happening. And you hear words that you never brought to your mind, but it came. And that is you beginning to start seeing in the spiritual world. And the last one, inshallah, there's two more, 6 and 7. Ruhul Yaqeen, the certainty of spirit. This is when your ruh witnesses. But what's the difference here? The spirit is witnessing. Can anyone give me the example? when I mentioned before that Ainul Yaqeen, you're sitting here looking at Medina Sharif on the TV. So what's the other example, other side of the coin? When you're, goes where? When you go to Medina Sharif. So the difference of having just a vision is like seeing Medina Sharif on the TV. But ruh traveling is when you go to Medina Sharif and you're there. So this is the ruh witnessing, is when it transfers in the spiritual world. And that's one of the things which we will be practicing again and again and again in this retreat, the transfer. How to transfer into the spiritual world. And the final one, are you still rating this, everyone? Everyone's still rating? The final one is Haqqul Yaqeen, the certainty of experience. Like now, what did Hazrat Sahib say? You've seen and tasted. So now the highest level, Haqqul Yaqeen, you're tasting the certainty. You're tasting the company of the mashayikh in the spiritual world. You're tasting the company of the Holy Prophet ﷺ in the spiritual world. You're tasting the fear. Fear is a taste, it's a feeling, it's an experience. You're tasting the fear of Jahannam by seeing it. You're tasting the wonders of Jannah by seeing it. So this is a experience and this is only in the spiritual world, when the person experiences and benefits there. So inshallah, is there any questions so far? Because now the next ones are quicker, they won't take very long, but they are also very individual based. Inshallah, any questions so far? Maybe take one or two? Yes.
So for question number 4, where you said Ainul Yaqeen, right? And out of 10, if someone has a 0, which means the other 3 will be automatically 0, right? Because if you haven't seen, then...
That's right, yes. So then now you've recognized, mashallah, you've recognized which level you're on the Yaqeen, 7 Yaqeen steps. You know which level you're on. Now you can start to improve them. The other ones which were, let's say, 5, you can improve them. How can you improve Ilmul Yaqeen? Learn more knowledge, and there's many things to learn in Islam, alhamdulillah. So you learn many of them. The Aql Yaqeen, the scientific knowledge, you can improve that. Many ways to do. And then the others, you can improve them. But the Ainul Yaqeen, retreats like this, and the ascension, these things will help towards this, inshallah. Any other questions? No? Then inshallah we continue the review. Uncle, did you have your hand up? No? Oh, you did.
You know, this the question number 4, if that's the 0, obviously the next 3, 4 are related to the same thing.
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the brother said, yes. But the recognition, what was the very first thing I said about the plumber? The first thing to do is find the leak, and then you can fix the problem. So you found the leak now, and it was on number 4. So that means that the other ones can't be there because the leak was at 4. So you stop at 4, you fix that, then you can have hope that the others will appear. But if you don't fix number 4, there's no way number 5, 6, 7 can come. So that's why we focus on number 4, inshallah, and the others will come in this retreat. Any other question? Moving on, major life problems. Now, I want you to do 2 things. Write down 2 major life problems you are going through. This is where maybe Ustad Shalam, Ustad Majid or others may be needed. But the major life problem, I give you an example. If you want to know what's the major life problem, a simple question is this: what do you think about most of the time? Whatever that is, that's the biggest problem in your life. The thing that you think about most of the time. That's one of your biggest obstacles, and that is one of your biggest problems. So I want you to write down 2 of your biggest problems, and then inshallah you're going to write down a solution for that as well. So I'm going to give you a little bit more time for this, but if anyone has any questions or wants to clarify anything, you can do.
Assalamu alaikum, Ustad.
where it mentions write down 2 major life problems you are going through. Once again, if majority of the time, if you're thinking about your religion, but minority of the time you got some problems, does this count or does that not count?
Well, if you, mashallah, that's a good question. If you, because everyone's situation is different, if you find that most of the time you don't have any big problem, then for you right now, that thing is the thing that you want to fix. For someone else, that problem that you have, for them that might be 10 times worse. They might experience that 10 times worse. But for yourself, that might be a small thing. But if that is the biggest one in your life, then that's the one to write down. So whichever is your biggest one, that's the one to write down. Yes, yes, brother.
It says major life problems that distract you from Allah.
Yes.
I'm not sure I understand, because will a major problem necessarily distract you from Allah?
Mashallah, it's a very good question, because it really depends on your perspective. But there's so many people in this room, and majority of us, we have problems. But very few of us have no problems. And I can tell you why. Those who have no problems, it's not that they don't have difficulties, they have difficulties, but they don't see their difficulties as problems. They see them as something else. What do you think they see their difficulties as? Tests? What else? Test is correct? Gifts, wonderful. You could see your tests, your difficulties are a gift, are a blessing, are an opportunity. Some describe it as a stepping stone to step on to get closer and closer and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how can that be a problem? Someone had a car accident the other day in this room that I know of, but he had a good reaction. So that little car accident that he had was a blessing in disguise. So there's everyone in here will have different types of problems, but not every one of us in here sees them as blessings. Most of us, Allah knows best, I can't say most of us, but many of us maybe, we see them as problems. So if you feel that you don't look at your problems as problems, you can put 0, mashallah. You can put 0. That's not, you don't have any issue there. That's not an obstacle. But for those of you who do see things as problems, you need to write something down. Yeah? Yes, brother. Yeah? Once you've written the problem, I also want you to write a solution. I want you to try and write a solution as well. Right. Yes, brother.
And that brings me to my next question. I don't understand. Write down a solution for each one. If I had a solution, the problem would be done.
MashaAllah, very good point as well. Now, what does that tell you? What does that comment itself tell you? That if you can't come up with a solution, what does it tell you? Sorry? You don't have the solution, so what do you need to do? Seek advice, guidance. Who are here that are here to help you? There are people here in this retreat to help you. There are one-to-ones available. So if you can't think of a solution, there are people here who can give you the solution. If you can't think of the solution, good and well, alhamdulillah, write it down and practice it. Remove your obstacle, get your spiritual openings, get your conviction, travel to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no questions asked. But if you can't find a solution to your problems, then go and ask. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you don't know, ask those who know. Simple. So write your solutions down. If you can't think of one, you know what the answer is. Next. Do you need a little bit more time? Can you put your hand up if you need a little bit more time? That's fine, you're writing solutions. Put your hand up if you don't need more time, if you finished. Okay, mashallah. So majority have finished, so we'll move on because you can finish this in your own time as well. So you've written the 2 solutions. Now this is what you also need to do. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran that seek help through patience and salah. through patience and salah. So, but many of us don't seek Allah's help through never mind patience, but they don't do the salah either. So which salah? It's the salatul haja, the prayer of need. So today, whatever your problem is, do 2 rakat salatul haja prayer, 2 rakat prayer of need, and beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Allah, help me with this problem. Help me to stop seeing it as a problem. Actually, let's do this now. Can everyone close their eyes? Close your eyes. You can put your pens down, papers down. You can put your heads down a little bit if you want to. And make dua from the heart. So you're not going to say it with the tongue, you're only going to say it with the heart. And say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Allah, these problems which I have written, you are the disposer of affairs. For you it is easy, for me it is difficult. Oh Allah, give me the solution, help me find the solution and solve my problems and remove them from me. Help me to see these problems not as problems, but as tests, as stepping stones, as blessings to come closer to you and to please you. Ameen. So this is when you do Salatul Haja, and that's the dua that you make, that these tests now become blessings, inshallah. Next one is unlawful wealth. There's only 2 questions to ask. Are you earning wealth in any haram way? And the next one is, are you spending the wealth in any haram ways? They will definitely stop one spiritual opening. They will definitely stop them. So are you earning it in a haram way, and are you spending it in a haram way? And if you're not sure, then there are people that you can ask as well, inshallah. So think about where you spend your wealth, your income. How are you spending it? What different things do you spend it on? And then think about also how you're earning it, if you earn it from one means or if you earn it from many means. And if there's no issues, no problems, then this is not your problem. This is not the obstacle for you. But if it is, then you need to seek help, inshallah, or seek guidance. And you will do the same thing. I want you to write down a solution for them. And if you can't find the solution, as brother was saying, what do you think the solution is? There are someone to see. Seek guidance. Don't suffer in silence, because if you suffer in silence, shaitan will come running to you. So he will come running to you and give you the wrong answer. So again, do 2 rakat salatul haja, prayer of need, seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help, and Allah will help you find a way. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't need to find. He does not need to find, because He knows it's us that need to find. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens up a way for us. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentions that for those who are sincere, that's the condition. For those who are sincere, I open for them doors from sources they never imagined. Sources that you never imagined. Allah will open for you a way. You will be thinking, oh, I can't get out of selling alcohol. I can't stop selling cigarettes. I can't stop buying this item or doing this and doing that. If you seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help and seek consultation from someone who can help you, Allah will give you a way. But you have to take the first step. Marital problems. Everyone, if you don't have any marriage issues, then you should be teaching the marriage workshops. If you don't have any marriage issues, then inshallah there are marriage workshops which you can teach. There are only 2 teachers at the moment. We need more. So I only want you to write down major marital problems that you might be experiencing. But this is very, very important. The solution must never be he or she must change, my wife must change, or the wife might say my husband might change. It should never be that what they should do. The solution must be, what can I do? What can I do to change? What can I do differently? So
I think if I take this form, she'll fill it in properly.
So write down any major marital issues that you're having. Major one. It might be lack of communication. It might be lack of intimacy. It might be lack of friendship. It might be always arguing. It might be not enough time together. But then the solution, what can I do to change that? Yes, please.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Just going back to the previous, the wealth issue, just something I wanted to clear. Because we live in a financial environment where everything's geared towards interest, where we're clearly told that's not allowed. And with our banks and stuff, we've got accounts which pay you interest, whatever pennies or whatever it is on the money you've got. And then we've got mortgages which sort of take that away from you. Yeah. Is that a barrier in the sense of this?
Well, there was more than one question in there. So firstly, regarding the interest, if a person is receiving interest, let's say for having a savings account, it's simple. You can tell the bank that I don't want to receive the interest, and they stop it. And if they don't stop it, you can open up an account with another bank that don't give interest. And what some people do is the interest that they're given, you have to give it to a charity, but without the intention of the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is given to a charity. So there's no reward in it, it's disposing of something dirty. But because it's money and it can benefit people, it needs to be used in a good way. So that's regarding interest that one's receiving. Regarding mortgage, if a person is in a mortgage situation, and they've got many years left, there are other options out there now, halal options and so on. Difference of opinion regarding people, it's still better than interest. So they can remortgage like that. Or if it's incredibly difficult, then there's other solutions for them as well. So, but these are individual-based solutions, and you need to know more of the individual's circumstance to give them a tailored answer for the person. So I can't say the answer for something like that here, like this, in front of everyone, then everyone will think that's my solution. But it's not everyone's solution, it's an individual one. So if you have something like that, it's best to speak to someone one-to-one, mention the whole story, and then they'll give you the correct advice, inshallah. Firstly, try help you find a way out of it, and if there's no way, there's still always a way, and that way will help resolve the issue, even if it's tawbah every single day for the rest of your life for that particular thing. Because think of this, interest, yes, it will stop you. Interest is a continuous sin. It's not one-off, it's continuous. Every single day, every single month, the person is paying this interest on mortgages or receiving interest every single month continuously. So it's like you're sinning every single second of the whole month. Now, does that mean that's it, you're destroyed? No. There is a way that a person can be saved from that. The other thing to know about it is that it's what destroys the world. Many people think, oh, why is it such a bad thing? Economists say we don't know why the world is in financial crisis. Why did Greece collapse? Economists say we don't know why. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows why. And the simple answer is interest destroys the world financially. And when the world financially collapses, what do people do? The father that can't feed his wife and children hangs himself. Then the wife that can't feed her children sometimes kills the children whilst they're in their sleep. And all sorts of evil things happen because of financial problems. And it all comes from money that doesn't exist, which is related to interest, debt upon debt. It makes the rich richer and the poor poorer, and it's unjust. And it's more on one side, all the benefits are on one side, and all the harms are on the other party's side. There's many reasons. So, yes, it will stop a person, but they need to seek a solution, and then inshallah, the problem can be overcome. So this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Holy Quran that for those who are sincere, I will open for them doors from sources they never imagined. You have to be, what was the condition? You have to be sincere. If the person is not sincere, the door won't open. But we don't want to go into talking about interest here. inshallah. Yes, is that okay? So see someone.
I just wanted to clarify, would that be a barrier or?
It will be. But again, it will be a barrier. But as long as they have a solution in place, then inshallah it won't be a barrier. It's like, let's say you have 10 years qaza prayer, 10 years prayer that is outstanding. If a person dies in that state, all those qaza prayers, they have to be held accountable for. But there's one solution, that if they do this, and they die with 10 years, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't hold them to account. What is that one solution? The one solution is this, that if they are in the habit of making up all those prayers, they're in the habit, and they have the intention to make up all the prayers, then if they die, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive all of them. They have to be in the habit of making them up and have the intention to make them all up. So similarly, this person with interest, they have to be in a habit of fixing it and have the intention to remove it and fix it completely. If they have no intention of fixing it, no habit of fixing it, then that now applies. Shall we move on, inshallah? Marital problems. So any major marital problem, and there are people that you can speak to here, inshallah, that can give advice regarding that as well. But remember, the solution must be what you can do, not what the spouse, the wife or the husband must do. The last one. Yes.
If we have a couple of major life stressors or challenges, but we don't know if they're a block or not, should we necessarily get them addressed right away or see until after the retreat?
You can see, now you know from just looking at these 6, you know if it falls into these 6. One of them was generic because it's specific to everyone, the major life problems. So a person's major life problem, the reason that is an obstacle is because it takes up your mind space. When it takes up your mind space, what does that mean? It takes your focus. When it takes your focus away, where is your focus not? Your focus is no longer on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on the journey to Allah, on pleasing Allah, on spiritual opening. When the focus is away from Allah, because of that problem is now an obstacle. So yes, I would suggest if a person has any major life issues, then they should see someone. But if you want to wait a little bit during the retreat towards the end, you can as well. That's perfectly fine, inshallah. So the last one is this, mashallah. It's the parents, siblings, colleagues, friends. Now these are the people, the wife or the husband is the one you have to live with. So a happy home means a happy life. These people, other than the parents and siblings, most these other people you can walk away from. But that does not mean that you should have a bad relationship with them, just because you don't have to see them every single day. A good relationship with the parents, the siblings, the friends, colleagues is still important, at least from your side. So ask yourself, do I have any major issues with anyone in my life? Whether it be my mother, father, brothers, sisters, even if they've passed away. Do I have any major issues towards people? Because let me tell you this, if you hold a grudge towards another person, the example of it is I eat poison and I wish that you die. I'm eating the poison, but I'm wishing that you die. So holding a grudge towards someone else is like I'm the one with the grudge wishing that you get the pain, but I'm the one that gets the pain. So it doesn't make sense that if you have problems with the siblings and the brothers, sisters, parents and so on, these will stop you because the grudge, the evil diseases in the heart, they will block your spiritual openings. They are in front of your spiritual eye, they will definitely stop it. So a person needs to try and fix this as well. Again, 2 rakat salatul haja, prayer of need, beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, help me to rectify my relationship. I forgive these people. And if you really have forgive them, what's one of the conditions that you really have forgive them? That you will treat them as though they never did that to you. You'll treat them as though they never did that. Doesn't mean that you won't be wary of them. You can be wary of them that, oh, this person did this to me, so I need to be extra cautious. But you won't keep bringing it up again. You don't talk about the past again and again. If you haven't forgiven them, you'll keep bringing the past up. If you have forgiven them, you'll never mention it again. So this, very, very, all of these are important. How can I say any one is more important than the others when they all are? So is there any question? Otherwise, inshallah, we will take a break now and it will be time for rest, inshallah. So any last questions regarding this? So has everyone understood this? How long did this review take? Maybe an hour with a few questions, hour, 20 minutes. In 1 hour, you've reviewed all of the major blockages, obstacles to your spiritual openings. In 1 hour. How many hours we have in the day? 24 hours. And you could do this. Now you have the questions in front of you. You can take this and ask yourself these questions next week, the week after, the week after. See how you're rating yourself. Does it go up? Does it go down? And until all these 50 questions, however many there are, that you have the right answers for all of them, then you will have nothing stopping you from having a spiritual opening. Nothing. Yes, brothers.
Just to repeat the question. Sorry, just to repeat the question. The barriers that we've identified, will they stop us in this weekend from experiencing and tasting or visualizing, inshallah?
That's the reason for the 2 rakat Salat al-Tawbah and Salatul Hajjah. Because if you do that, if you make the intention that, oh Allah, I make intention never to do these sins and addictions again, you've made the intention. If Allah SWT accepts it, it's as though you've never done it now. So that's no longer an obstacle. When you do this 2 rakat Salat al-Hajjah, why do we do before the ascension, we do a Hajjah prayer? We do that because Allah SWT is the one who takes us, not us. So if you make the intention, oh Allah, for example, the marriage one and the parents one and the other major life problem, that, oh Allah, I turn to you to fix my problem, then Allah will take the problem upon Himself to fix it, because you've turned to Him through patience and salah. That problem won't stop you now. But when you go back to the world and you become involved in your problem again and you make it alive again, then it can stop you again. But if here you turn to Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah SWT will take it away from you. So what does that tell you? When you're here, if you turn to Allah and Allah takes it away, when you're out there, you should also be turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah Azza wa Jal will take the problem away and fix it for you. So not only in the mosque should we be turning to Allah Azza wa Jal, we should be turning to Him when we're in dunya as well, in the home, at work. And then yes, these problems, they won't stop you. These obstacles, they won't stop you. As long as you have your 2 things, you're on the journey and you have the intention to reach the end. So be on the journey, and number 2, have the intention to reach the end, then nothing can stop you now. So like the mortgage one we mentioned, if you're on the journey of fixing the mortgage problem and you have the intention to clear it, then the mortgage won't stop you. If you're on the journey of completing all the salah and you have the intention to complete it, the qaza salah doesn't stop you. If you're traveling to Hajj, if you die on the journey and you have intention to finish, but you died on the journey, Allah SWT raises you as a Haji. So the same thing, have the intention to complete the journey and start the journey. So on that note, inshallah, we finish. And the last thing I will say is, if anyone has any of these problems, they want to see anyone regarding, the 3 ustads you saw before and Hazrat Sahaba are available, they make themselves available throughout this whole retreat. Take advantage of them and don't have this thought in your mind that, oh, I don't want to disturb them. That thought is a shaitanic thought. I will tell you that now. The person who thinks, oh, I don't want to disturb them, they are giving their time 4 days for you, and then you don't use it, that's actually ungratefulness. The grateful one is the one who goes and gets the solution, fixes their life, then you'll make the mashayikh happy. But you sit there thinking, oh, I don't want to disturb them, that is more selfish, because now you've taken the space of someone else who could have benefited more. So benefit from the people who are here, change your lives, and do this review, practice it, and inshallah you will have spiritual openings before you know it, and then nothing can stop you then. Nothing will be able to stop you. So shaitan won't stop you, your nafs won't stop you, the whole world together won't be able to stop you, and because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your only wish and desire. So on that note, I finished. Jazakallah. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.
Alhamdulillah. Actually, there was going to be another session, but I see many of you are quite tired. So inshallah, we're going to stop now for the evening. So you're going to have a tea break. Important thing, like we mentioned now, is when you go up for your tea break, please bring your phones with you. And brother